for his presentation is Unlocking Global Trade and Finance for African Manufacturers. Welcome onto the stage. A big round of applause for Tony.
Thank you so much. All right. All right, so I'm Nwose. I'm the founder and CEO of Niton. We are currently the third largest digital export solution in Nigeria, which means we make up a large portion of export from Nigeria to the US, the UK, the Middle East, and then South Asia. And what we are building is we are unlocking access to trade finance and access to market for African manufacturers within the agriculture, textile, and commodity space. So like you see, we are backed by Star, MasterCard, and a few other investors who have joined us on this journey so far. So let me start with a bit of the journey behind our story. So my grandfather used to be one of Nigeria's largest producers of cocoa. And I saw how, despite being a major supplier of cocoa, he basically panicked a lot because there's a lot of demand-controlled markets. So the buyers usually control the market, and that actually affected his growth. So this led to us seeing that there was a major problem. And even in 2021, the international market lost over 23 billion in trade fraud. That same year, African manufacturers lost over 37 billion in food waste. And you could tell that this was due to the fact that there is a disconnect between Africa and the global market. So what are the three major problems? One is access to quality manufacturers, being able to see who are quality manufacturers on the continent. Second is access to trade finance. And then third is sustainable logistics. So with that being said, me and my co-founder decided to come back. I was working at Google then, and he was working at IBM in the US. We decided to come back to Nigeria and say, let's solve this problem for the continent. So we started off by building three major solutions. One was we built a B2B marketplace, a marketplace that allows African manufacturers to connect with global buyers, and then we built the first African Manufacturers Bank. So for the first time, African manufacturers now have a bank tailored to them, providing them with Sharia credits, providing them with invoicing financing and infrastructure financing, because we want to scale African exports from raw production to upscale production in order to increase the value chain, and then we build a supply chain solution to manage this. Now, between 2022 and 2023, which was our first year back in Nigeria, we grew from $85,000 to about $251,000 in revenue in just 1 year. And that was because the market saw a shift from just focus on raw exports to value-added export, which was a major shift. And then last year, we did over $751,000 in revenue and over $3.5 million. And this was off 1,000 manufacturers, and we created over 9,000 jobs across Africa. Now, this is the impact that agriculture can make if we do it the right way, and we do it with the right intention for manufacturers to scale globally. Now, we're raising a 1.5 equity round, and then obviously 5 million debt. The goal is that we understand the market, we understand the technology, but now we want to scale beyond Nigeria to the East African market, and obviously provide debt financing to these manufacturers, because debt is very expensive in Africa. So it's better we do it the right way, and we provide debt that is tailored for these manufacturers, and that's our goal at Niton. So with that being said, the goal is to allow African manufacturers never have to worry about access to markets or access to capital. They can focus on sustainable food production while we do everything for them. And thank you so much for joining us on this journey. Thank you.
Well, I'll jump in and go first. First of all, great pitch. Your business is right in our investment thesis. So I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but I'll just say we'd be very interested in looking at investing in this.
Thank you.
And no, I guess the question I have is, tell us about your team. What does the team look like? What are the gaps that you have, or what are the key hires? And what kind of support do you need to take the model from Nigeria to East Africa?
Okay, so currently we have team members in the US, the UK, and then the Middle East. So we have 2 people in Qatar, because we got into the Qatar market last year, but we've been playing in the US and the UK market for the longest. So major of our team members are still spread across this market, but Africa and Nigeria is where we have the base for most of our team members. But what we need is access to market. More than capital, being able to have access to global market. We want to really penetrate the current markets that we're in, which is the US, the UK, and the Middle East market. But there's a lot of opportunity in Asia and then Europe as well. So this access to market is a big advantage for us, and having experts that understand expansion globally would be very, very helpful to our progress.
Fantastic pitch. My question is on the sort of bank. I love that you are providing embedded finance for your suppliers. My question is, how do you assess the credit quality of the underlying suppliers? And also, how do you ensure that the capital they use is used for export or for the eventual sale of their items?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting question. So what we've done is that, unlike other trade finance company, we own our own marketplace. So we knew that in order for us to succeed in this market, we can't just build a marketplace or build a trade finance solution. So we're providing credit to our own manufacturers of already existing orders. So it's invoice financing basically. So what that does is that because we are the ones who have the market, we can then provide you credit at about 10% of the total value of the order. So if a US buyer has placed an order for $250,000 worth of goods, we can use that as an invoice to provide you 50,000 or 30,000 in order for you to finish production and supply, since we have the market and the banking solution as well. So it kind of allows the manufacturers to do everything internally without going external to get heavy interest capital.
I love the pitch. I have a question on the numbers.